Salam rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een ma ba'du. Inshallah, tonight we're going to finish the last section of Kitab al-Siyam, the book of fasting. So this is the last section connected to the rules of fasting Ramadan. And since we're in the last 10 nights, and even though we already started the last 10 nights, this section is connected to Al-I'tikaf, staying the night at the masjid, which many people are doing. Some people are doing it, some people are not doing. But when we stay in the masjid in the last 10 nights, there are specific rules that are supposed to be followed. We're not talking about the rules of the masjid. The masjid does have rules that everybody needs to follow. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody here, but the rules pertaining to, number one, hygiene, right? Cleanliness of the masjid, that whatever masjid you're going to stay at for the night, the cleanliness of the masjid is part of, number one, being clean is part of our deen anyway, meaning being clean, meaning clean clothes, washing your body, smelling appropriate, not stinking when you go to the masjid. All that's part of our deen, whether we in Ramadan or not, whether we talking about this chapter or not. For the men and for the women, cleanliness is part of our deen. So we shouldn't be going to the masjid voluntarily not washing ourselves, smelling funny, stinking. It's different if you just got off work and you're just trying to get there to get your worship in, and we human. We're not talking about that. We talking about you left out of your home, you left out of wherever you were comfortable, and you didn't clean yourself and prepare yourself to ultimately go stand in front of Allah Jalla wa Ala, right? Because when we go to the masjid, the objective is to go there to pray. And if we're going there to pray, that means we're going to stand in front of Allah. And if we're going to stand in front of Allah, that means we need to be presentable. Our smell, our clothes, and everything else needs to be presentable. So going to the masjid to spend the night is no different. If you bring in extra, whatever you bring in, bags, the bags shouldn't stink. You're harming everybody in the masjid with your stinky bags. I'm just saying, you know how your cat might pee on a bag. If your cat peed on the bag, you shouldn't bring that bag to the masjid, right? You should wash it, switch out, get another bag. All that's part of making the masjid comfortable, whatever masjid you're going to. So the masjid is going to have rules, right, in order to keep things in order. And we should respect the people who are putting those rules in place, because the rules are put in place not to make one person uncomfortable. The rules are put into place so that everybody can be comfortable. Now, if you're the one person that's uncomfortable by the rules, don't make it a problem for the rest of the people who come to benefit. Everybody's coming to benefit for the same reason, inshallah. So we're not talking about the rules that the masjid set. We're talking about the rules that Islam has set, that when a person goes to make what's called i'tikaf, stay overnight in the masjid, especially during these last 10 nights, there's certain rules, and there's a certain adab, and there's a certain behavior that we're supposed to follow when we're doing that. So first, the author, rahimahullah, he says, Kitab al-I'tikaf. Now, does anybody know what i'tikaf means? Like, what does it mean, stay in the masjid? Like, or is it that's it, just spend the night in the masjid? Say it again. Standing regarding to the prayer at night, the night prayer. Okay, to go to the masjid for the night prayer. That's it. Recite the Quran. Okay. Yes. To pray Tarawih. Good. Okay. Fadl. Anything else? All right. Reciting Quran, praying Tarawih, praying Qiyam al-Layl. All of those fall under what? Worship. The point of going to the masjid is not just to hang out for the night and not do no worship. Even though it's better to be in the masjid than to be out just roaming around doing nothing, right? It's better to be amongst the believers and be here where some worship is going on. But the point of us going to the masjid, spending a whole night and all them hours in the masjid, the point is to do some type of worship. Meaning we shouldn't go to the masjid and then be on our phones for like 6 hours straight. You could have did that in the house, right? I mean, you could have did that in the house, even though in general, being in the masjid is better. Wow, you get to witness the worship being done. Hopefully it'll be an encouragement for everybody to get up and worship themselves and do some worship for them, themselves, and not watch people worship. Say it again. It's a lot, it's a lot of benefits of just being in the masjid. But the point of, like most people are praying in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. The inconvenience of the body, right? The uncomfortableness that we have to experience of getting up in the middle of the night, or some people don't go to sleep, they just stay up. All right, we're not gonna stay up all night, y'all. Then when it comes time to pray, we're not gonna pray. Then we're gonna be tired the next day too. So we're gonna do all of that and not get any reward for really doing any worship at night, whether I'm reading, whether I'm praying Tarawih, whether I'm praying Qiyam al-Layl, reading, memorizing the dua, making dhikr, something. We shouldn't go to a masjid. We should not go to a masjid for i'tikaf or for the night prayer or in the middle of the night. I'm gonna stay the night at the masjid. And we shouldn't just take it as a hangout session, because i'tikaf, and by definition, it is to stay in the masjid for the purpose of worship. That's what it's for. That's what i'tikaf is. Luzum al-masjid li ta'atillah. That you stay in the masjid with the purpose of worship. So the first thing he says is وَهُوَ السُنَّةِ وَيَجِبُ بِالنَّذْرِ. As far as the ruling on i'tikaf, it's recommended to do. So it's not something that's obligatory to do. It's recommended to do, right? It's from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, so there's something that's recommended to do. Meaning if a person didn't do it, if everybody, as you see, any masjid you go to, the masjid in the middle of the night does not look like Jummah. So it's not like everybody comes out, and everybody doesn't have to come out, but it is recommended. It only becomes obligatory if you make it obligatory on yourself, right? It becomes obligatory if a person makes it obligatory on themselves. How does a person do that?
Have an intention, place an intention on saying, I'm going to be in the masjid,
By the fact that they make the intention to perform i'tikaf. That doesn't make it obligatory. It's still sunnah. But even if you do a sunnah, if you do something that's recommended, you still have to have the intention to do it. But that's not going to make it obligatory. Some things that are not obligatory on us, right? But it becomes obligatory based on a person makes an oath, right? A person makes an oath. So they say what? They make an oath to Allah that if you give me this, I'm going to do that. And then Allah gives it to a person. Now it becomes obligatory. Oh Allah, if you give me this job, I'm going to make i'tikaf in the last 10 nights of Ramadan this year. Person gets the job. Now it's obligatory to make i'tikaf in the masjid during Ramadan that year. But if they didn't make that oath, it wouldn't have been obligatory, it would have been recommended. Right? Not the intentions, the oath. You made the oath. The oath is what carried it from being recommended to obligatory. Is that clear? But if you never made the oath, if you just said, I want to make i'tikaf this year, and then you didn't make i'tikaf, no problem. But if you said, oh Allah, your person said, Allah, if you allow me to do this, if you put me on the football team, if you let me be a starter on the basketball team, Allah, I'm going to stay in the masjid the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And then you get that starting position and you get this, all right, now it becomes obligatory. Tayyib, in order for a person's i'tikaf to be valid, it's 6 things for a person's i'tikaf to be valid. Number 1, like he said, it has to be, you have to have the intention to make i'tikaf, right? Number 2, the person has to be a Muslim, right? He said clean. They should be clean. But if they're not clean, it's not going to invalidate it. But we should, listen, y'all, whenever we go to the masjid, we should go on our best. Not the best meaning you have to wear your best clothes every day, but you should go with the intention of being in the best appearances possible for the situation you're in, right? It's not like you going to the masjid for the prayer. It's not like going to their Eid, right? Going to the masjid for the salah is not like going for Jummah, right? There are times when the appearance and the cleanliness is even more emphasized than other times, right? But anytime we go to the masjid, we should always keep in mind that being clean is part of our deen. Tayyib. So the person has to have an intention. They have to be Muslim. Number 3. Yeah. Huh? Again? Oh, you said that, the intention. Well, you don't need wudu. You don't need wudu to go. I mean, for it to be valid, because the whole time you're sitting here, for example, all night, you don't have to be in wudu the whole night. But you have to have your sanity, right? You have to have your sound mind. What if a person, what's the problem if a person doesn't have a sound mind? Huh? What is it, if you don't have a sound mind, that equals what? Huh? Not sick. It means that you don't, how does an insane person make a valid niyyah? They're not able to. Clear? So a person could have their sanity and they just never made their intention, which is going to invalidate their i'tikaf. Now a person that's insane, they don't have their sanity, they're not able to formulate a proper intention. So they have to have their sanity, number 3. Number 4, for the i'tikaf to be valid, that they have to reach the age, they have had to reach the age of, not puberty, not maturity, the one before puberty. Tamyiz, what's tamyiz? We did this before, tamyiz. Tamyiz, maturity, puberty, not puberty, before puberty, discernment. That age of discernment, which is what age? 7, yes. 7, yes. The age of 7 for it to be valid. Not that, so it doesn't mean a child has to reach the age of puberty to make i'tikaf, right? But in order to be valid, they had to reach the age of 7, the age of discernment. That's 4, right? Number 5, Adamu ma yujibul ghusl, that the person who makes i'tikaf, they can have, nothing is affecting them, whereas though they have to make a ghusl. Like what? A menses. A woman on her menses, she needs to make a ghusl, right? So she can't make i'tikaf. Or it could be a man. A man could possibly need to make a ghusl, and if he needs to make a ghusl, he can't make i'tikaf or salat. Clear? When does a man need to make a ghusl? Obligatory ghusl. After discharge. After discharge. Even if it's not sex, even if it could be a wet dream, right? After discharge. Tayyib. Number 6, i'tikaf has to be made where? In the masjid, right? Not in the hall, it has to be in the masjid. Now, as one that is added, it says, وَيُزَادُ فِي حَقْ مَنْ تَلْزَمُهُ الْجَمَاعَةِ أَنْ يَكُونْ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ مِمَّا تُقَامُ فِيهِ. One more. Is it allowed for a man to make i'tikaf? Huh? Yeah, for men. Is it allowed for women to make i'tikaf? Huh? Men and women. It's allowed for men and women. Tayyib. There's a difference between the men and the women. Because when it comes to the prayer, salat, the 5 prayers, men, the obligation for men is to pray the prayers fil jama'ah in the masjid. It's not obligatory for the women. Now this might not make sense to us, but you go to some countries and the masjids are built different. They're not built like they're built here. All right, so it's possible to section things off and other things are not taking place like we do everything here. But that's not the case for every masjid, right, in other countries. So if a man is going to make salat in the masjid, i'tikaf in the masjid, that masjid has to be a masjid that holds the 5 daily prayers in congregation. Well, you might say, well, what masjid doesn't do that? There's some masjids that are built, they just pass-throughs. They don't necessarily have an imam leading the salat, but it's there, it's built, and people go there and they pray if they stop by, but there's no actual jamaat maybe being established. So you wouldn't go there to make i'tikaf. You're going to go somewhere where you know they're going to pray Fajr together. They're going to pray Dhuhr, Jama'ah. They're going to pray the 5 daily prayers. Everybody with me? You're not going to go to a pass-through place where nobody prays Jama'ah there. Why? Because if you do that, that means for every Jama'ah, you're going to have to leave the masjid to go to another masjid to pray the Jama'ah. You with me? No. Cool. That's not our situation. So they're bringing a situation which is outside of our scope, which is some masjids are built and there's not a mu'adhin there 5 times a day calling the adhan. But it's a masjid and people go there and they can pray. But most likely when you go there to pray, most likely it's probably not going to be a jama'ah. Based on where the area is, it's a path through, it's in the middle of a road, people travel, people just stop and pray and keep going. You don't go make i'tikaf there. Why? Because there's no jama'ah being prayed, and you as a Muslim man, the obligation for you is to pray jama'ah. So that means if you make i'tikaf in the masjid, you have to go to a masjid where they're going to pray the congregational prayer. Tayyib. From the masjid, it says, ومن أين الاعتكاف في مسجد غير الثلاثة لم يتعين. Basically, you can pray, I'm sorry. You can make i'tikaf. Well, let me ask this question. Are all the masjids in the world the same regarding prayer inside of those masjids? No. Okay. What masjids in the world are different? Huh? The Prophet's masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Kaaba and Masjid Aqsa. Other than those 3, yes. Other than those 3, all of the masjids that wherever you pray at in the world, the reward for praying in them are the same. Jama'ah. What's the reward for praying Jama'ah in the masjid? 25 to 27, right? The Jama'ah. All right. There's no other reward except at the Kaaba, which is 100,000 for every prayer. The Prophet's Masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is 1,000 for every prayer. And Masjid Aqsa, which is 500 for every prayer. All the rest of the masjids in the dunya, in the world, the reward is the same. Right? So if a person is to say, as long as they don't say, I'm going to make i'tikaf, I'm going for Umrah the last 10 nights in Ramadan, right? And their intention is to make i'tikaf in the Prophet's masjid, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they make the intention in one of those 3 masjids, they have to stay in those masjids. If it's any other masjid in the world, they can stay in any masjid. All the reward is going to be the same. Clear? It's 3 masjids. If you say you're going to do it there, you have to do it there. The rest of the masjids, if you make i'tikaf in the masjid, it doesn't matter which one you go to because it's all the same regarding reward. Clear? Huh? So if you say I'm going to make Umrah in the last 10 nights, and you say I'm going to make i'tikaf at the Kaaba, you can't just go to a regular masjid in Mecca now and say, no, you have to do it where you said you was going to do it. Any other masjid, though, is fine, outside of those 3. Tayyib. And next he mentions the things that break the i'tikaf. It's going to invalidate your reward for making i'tikaf. He says, number 1, وَيُبْطِلُ الاعتكاف بِالْخُرُوجِ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ لِغَيْرِ عُذْرٍ. Leave in the masjid without an excuse to leave. He's going to mention some excuses to leave in a minute. If you're going to make i'tikaf, right? If you're going to the masjid to stay the night, what's the point of going to the masjid to stay the night? Huh? Worship. Not stay the night. You could have stayed the night wherever you was at. The point of going to the masjid to spend the night is to worship in that night. Some type of worship. Everybody can't stand and pray the whole night. But you can make dhikr, you can read the Quran, you can make dua. There's other things to do, right? And for real, y'all, for real, most of us are not able to pray that much on our own. Most of us not able to get up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning in our own houses and pray 11 rakat, which is going to take an hour. right? A lot of us don't have that ability. So coming to the masjid makes it easy, right? It's easier for me to get that type of worship in. Without that imam doing that, and the imam got to stay up all night too. And the imam he's not just staying up all night. The imam has to review what he's going to read. He has to review what he's going to recite, right? For the next hour or so, right? So it's worth taking advantage of being able to do that type of worship with other people's help. Whereas though a lot of us, without the help of the imam reciting all of that, we wouldn't be able to stand that long on our own. Tayyib? So, leaving the masjid without an excuse. Leaving the masjid that you're making i'tikaf without a valid excuse. And he's going to mention some of the excuses. Number 2, a person's i'tikaf is broken or invalidated based on their intention to break their i'tikaf, just like their fast, right? بنية الخروج ولو لم يخرج. If they say, I'm leaving, I've made my mind up that I'm leaving the masjid. I have no reason for leaving, I'm going, I gotta go. Now I might sit there and talk for another 10 minutes, but at that point, once you've made your intention to leave, right, the i'tikaf is broken. Can they fix that? Never mind, forget that. Everybody get it? The intention to break it, breaks it, even if you don't leave. Because you might say, I'm out, man, I gotta go. Then when you're walking out, on your way out, somebody say, hold on, let me ask you a question. Then you might stand and talk for 15 more minutes, right? But that 15 minutes that you stood and talked didn't count towards your i'tikaf. Why not? You already made your intention to leave. Clear? طيب. He said after that, وَبِالْوَطِي فِي الْفَرْجِ. Intercourse, not to say this doesn't mean things are okay to do. But if a person was to have intercourse inside of a masjid, that would break the i'tikaf. Why would a person do that? All of that's a different conversation. If it was to happen, it's going to break the i'tikaf. Or a person ejaculates due to foreplay in the masjid. Right? If that happens, then that will break the i'tikaf. Apostate, may Allah protect us all. A person leaves Islam in the masjid while they're doing i'tikaf, that's going to break their i'tikaf. He says, well, sukut, and if a person is intoxicated, that's going to break their i'tikaf. The question is not why would a person do that. It's mentioned there for a reason, right? It's mentioned there for a reason. If that were to happen, what's the rule? What's the ruling? What's the hukum on it, right? That it's going to invalidate it. And that's why a person may come and they have it's an issue, and the issue might sound crazy, but the issue at the end of it, we're not saying that it's okay, but we try to figure out if a person does that, what's the rule? We just want to know the rule, and then we can deal with the other stuff on an as-need basis. طيب. Now these are the things that don't break the i'tikaf. This is not going to invalidate your staying the night at the masjid if you do these things. وَلَا يُبْطِلُ الْإِعْتِكَافِ. He says, إِنْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ لِبَوْلٍ أَوْ غَائِطٍ. If a person leaves the masjid, and this is not like how our masjids are set up. If a person leaves the masjid to use the bathroom, it's not going to break their i'tikaf. Our masjids are set up where the bathrooms are inside the building, right? But if you go to another country, the bathrooms are not inside the building. So in order to get to the bathroom, you might have to go out the back door and over to the left. It's another building over there. Everybody with me? Huh? طيب. So let's say a person's made i'tikaf in that situation, and they had to use the bathroom. If they have to use the bathroom, that means they have to they have to leave the masjid, right? But that's not going to break it. Why? Because they're going to use the bathroom, and they're coming right back. So if they go to use the bathroom, assuming the bathroom is not under the same roof as the masjid like ours is here, then that does not break their i'tikaf. Clear? طيب, number 2. If a person leaves the masjid to make an obligatory tahara, they have to make wudu. Again, ours is here inside under the same roof. But you go somewhere else, their wudu stations are outside. Go outside the back door to the left. It's another building. Did they leave the masjid? Yes. They left the masjid, but that doesn't break the wudu. That doesn't break their i'tikaf if they're going to make wudu, or even if they had to go out there to make a ghusl. That's an an obligatory purification. They had to do that in order to pray. They can't pray without going outside to make the wudu, so that's not going to invalidate the i'tikaf. It says, oh, li'izalat najasa, or a person had urine on their clothes, right? Or something on their clothes and they have to clean it off. Where are they going to clean it off? And on the masjid rug? They have to go out to the place where the sinks are and clean it off. If they go outside, and if that's outside of the masjid, then that's not going to break their i'tikaf. Tayyib. Or a person leaves the masjid to, and this is not us, this is not our situation, but a person leave, because all of our masjids for the most part, hold Jummah in that masjid, right? But if you go to other countries, they have masjids who don't pray Jummah there. That masjid, they don't pray Jummah there. It's a small masjid, it's not for Jummah. If you want to pray Jummah, you go to the big masjid. The big masjid down the street holds the Jummah. This is just a small masjid. They pray the salawat, they pray the prayers, but they don't pray Jummah here, right? So now if a person made i'tikaf in the small masjid where they pray the 5 prayers, but now it's Friday, brother, and it's obligatory for the brothers to attend Jummah, right? That means you have to leave and go to the big masjid to pray Jummah. And then after Jummah, what do? You go back to the small masjid and finish your i'tikaf. Clear? Even though that's not our situation here, because the majority of our masjids, for the most part, they hold Jummah. But if that was the case, the fact that a brother went to go pray Jummah while he was making i'tikaf, because i'tikaf really means you're supposed to stay in the masjid and not leave. But there are reasons that are excusable for a person leaving. So he had to leave to go make Jummah. Now what about the sister who was making i'tikaf and it was Jummah? Does she have to leave? Huh? Why not? Because Jummah is not obligatory on her. So she could have stayed in the masjid and not went to pray Jummah, which would have been fine. But if she did, for the men, it's obligatory, so the man would have to leave to go pray Jummah, and that would not break his i'tikaf. Shukran. Tayyib. What time we stop? 42. Tayyib. It also doesn't break a person's i'tikaf. If they left the masjid to get something to eat or drink, as long as they don't have somebody to bring them food. Meaning, if somebody is available, if you have somebody that can bring you food and you don't have to leave, then you're supposed to do that. But if there's nobody on deck to bring food to feed the people and make an i'tikaf, right? They're not fasting that night. They're allowed to leave, get their food, and come back. Clear? Everybody with me? طيب. وله المشي على عادته. And he said when they do leave, and this is a good one because a person might, when they do leave to get their food or they drink, they don't have to walk extra fast to get back. They can go their normal pace and travel, not travel, I don't use that word travel. They can go out and get their food and get their drinks and everything and come back at their normal pace. They don't have to rush like I gotta hurry up and get back because I'm not supposed to be outside the masjid. Right? It's a normal pace. Why? If we had somebody to bring the food, then they wouldn't have to leave. They wouldn't have had to leave in the first place. But since they have nobody to bring them the food, they have to go get their food and their drink, and then they come back to the masjid and they can move at their normal speed. They don't have to speed up or anything at all. Tayyib. He said, and it's a ينبغي لمن قصد المسجد أن ينوي الاعتكاف مد لطفه فيه. Whoever goes to make i'tikaf at night in the masjid, they should make their intention forever how long they intend to be there. However long you intend to be in the masjid for i'tikaf, you should make your niyyah for that amount of time. Right? What's the least amount of time you can make i'tikaf? 1 day? Yeah. Least amount of time. I didn't think how many days. 3 days? 3 days? Some of the scholars say you can make the intention. What is i'tikaf, number one? Let's forget it. The i'tikaf means that I'm going to the masjid. I'm going to stay in the masjid for the intent. My only intention of going is for worship. I'm going there to do some worship. That worship could be prayer. It could be reading the Quran. It could be making dua. It could be making dhikr. Whatever worship I'm going, I'm only going there for that worship. What's the least amount of time my intention can be for that? Some of the scholars say 1 hour. I'm going to go there and I'm going to go to the masjid and lock my, not, the door's going to be unlocked, y'all, but you know how we say. I'm going to lock myself in the masjid for 1 hour just for worship. That's my i'tikaf. At the least. At the least. But when we're talking about i'tikaf, for the most part, people are going overnight. Right? So when I'm going for that time, I should make my intention to go make my i'tikaf for, what's tonight? Monday night or Tuesday night. Everybody clear? Whatever it is, you should make your i'tikaf for the time you're going to be there. Tayyib. Even if they're fasting, that doesn't, the fact that we fasting, you can be fasting in the daytime. Everybody with me? I'tikaf doesn't have to be at night. If a person makes i'tikaf the last 10 nights of Ramadan, right? They there the last 10 nights. That means they're there in the daytime too. Right? All day. So let's just say if I'm making i'tikaf for the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I'm going to go there and I'm going to be in that masjid. I'm not leaving. I'm not going home. I'm going to be there until the night before their Eid. The night before their Eid, after Maghrib, I'm going to pack all my stuff up, and then I'll go home. Clear? That means I was in the masjid making i'tikaf during the nighttime, and then during the daytime. During the nighttime, then during the daytime for the whole 10 nights of Ramadan. And then at the end of that, that's when I would go and return back to my home when all of that was over. And that is the end of Kitab al-Siyam. And inshallah, it's a couple more classes that we'll have before the Eid. One of them being how to pray Salat al-Eid, how to pray the Eid Salat. Another class will be how to pay the Zakat al-Fitr. And Sheikh Ali is probably going to do one of the two. Yes. What about him? خلاص يا شيخ صلى الله عليه وسلم
الله أكبر الله أكبر